If I could get everybody to get settled down, that would be awesome. I know we're a bit out of practice. We haven't been in this routine for a while now, but I am Jacqueline Rinksmeyer. I'm the Executive Director of the Medina Chamber of Commerce, and I thank you all very much for choosing to be here with us today. Jen Kiko, are you saying you can't hear me? You can't hear back there? We'll ask our tech experts to figure that out. So I will try to project as best as I can. So again, out of practice a little bit, but my job up here is to remind you to silence your cell phones. If you do have your cell phone out, if you could go ahead, take a second to silence it, we would appreciate it. And then my next official order of business is to introduce Mr. Dan Calvin, who is the Chamber Board President and has avoided being the speaker at these events for the entirety of the year. So he is thrilled to take over the job right now. So, Dan Calvin, come on over.
How's that in the back? Can you guys hear okay? Yeah. Thank you, Jacqueline. As Jacqueline said, I'm Dan Calvin. I'm an attorney at Critchfield Law Firm here in Medina, and I'm this year's Chamber Board Chair. We're happy to be back together. This is, believe it or not, the first member meeting in 18 months. So it was March of 2020 was the last time we were all together here. And couldn't think of a better way to kick it off than with Mayor Hanwell and the state of the city. So before getting to Mayor Hanwell, we've got a couple housekeeping items here. First, I'd like to thank the chamber staff, so Jacqueline, Stephanie, and Becky, and also our board members for keeping things afloat here for the last 18 months. So it's been a struggle for everybody, including the chamber, but the chamber staff has done a great job focusing on our membership. We've offered a lot of free and reduced programming, webinars on reopening and other COVID and employment issues for our members. So we're very happy with that and the product that we were able to put out for the last year and a half. So if there's anything else that you'd like to hear from the chamber about, any topics that you're interested in, let me know, let Jacqueline know, and we'll try to get something together. I'd also like to thank our chamber ambassadors, and I'd ask them to stand up if we've got some of them here today. So if you don't know, you've probably seen their faces at many chamber events, but they're just volunteers. They're just here because they love the chamber, they care about our mission, and they like to attend our events and promote the chamber in any way they can. So we appreciate everything they do. Finally, I'd like to remind everybody about our upcoming event, the Empower and Athena event. The Chamber and the Women's Journal have joined forces this year to offer the 9th Annual Empower Conference in conjunction with the Athena Leadership Awards. The topic this year is authentic leadership, and the conference has 3 amazing speakers, including my partner Amy Demlow. So if for no other reason, come see her. The event will take place October 21st, and it's a morning event, so it's 8 a.m. to noon. There'll be breakfast, right? So we'll feed you. You can register on the website or talk to Jacqueline and Stephanie today or some other time, and we'll get you signed up. Okay, next I would like to thank our sponsors today. So our first sponsor is Dollar Bank. So we've got Allison here from Dollar Bank. So thank you, Allison. Next is Armstrong, and we've got Sam, and Sam's going to say a few words.
Hello, good to see everybody in person again. My name is Sam Petrangelo. I'm the Community Marketing Manager for Armstrong here in Medina. So just a little bit about Armstrong. We provide video, internet, and phone service in Medina. We've done so over the last 40 years. Still a family-owned and operated company, started back in 1946. And all of our employees live in and around the Medina area, and we support multiple local events, programs, youth leagues, and that sort of thing. So over the past few years, we've made a large investment to upgrade our network to provide the latest fiber optic service with multi-gig speed services that is 10G ready for the near future. We've also been putting in a lot of work to some of our service projects, such as our Healing Heroes program, where we've successfully raised money to provide 8 service dogs for area military veterans that are in need, as well as collecting food donations for Feeding Medina County through our Breaking Bread program. And just a reminder, so this is Hunger Action Month, the month of September, and we launched our annual Avenge Hunger Month campaign. We're partnering with Bueller's Fresh Foods and also Feeding Medina County. So now through October 3rd, if you visit a Bueller's location, either Forest Meadows, River Styx, or the Wadsworth location, there's a shopping cart that's in the foyer as you enter or exit, and you can make a donation there, and it'll all go towards Feeding Medina County. So we'd really appreciate anything that you're able to give. And that's my time, so enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you, Sam. Our next sponsor is Habitat for Humanity of Medina County, and we've got Executive Director Tom O'Connell to say a couple words.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be with you. So over the last few weeks, a lot has been happening here at Habitat for Humanity in Medina County. We dedicated our 44th home in Brunswick on Byron Avenue just a few weeks ago. And as we dedicated that one, we started our next one in Wadsworth on Durling. The basement walls are up, and over the next 2 weeks, we'll have 2 more going in Brunswick. We'll be digging those foundations very shortly. In the midst of those couple weeks, we also began accepting homeowner applications, and this is really what I wanted you to hear today. So in a matter of about 15 days, with no marketing, no advertising, no social media posts, just a change on our website, we had 62 families apply for our program. That compares to 2020, when we had 20 families apply. So the reason I tell you that is just as we think about affordable home ownership, the need continues to increase. And we'd love to partner with you and your business, your organization, in any way we can. We have a table. We're also giving away a $25 gift certificate to our Restore. So just drop your business card. But we'd love to partner with you in any way we can to provide more affordable home ownership for families here in Medina County. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Tom, and thanks to all of our sponsors today. Now we'll get on to the main event, and a man that needs no introduction here with this group, Mayor Hanwell, to give the State of the City address.
Told me good luck. What does that mean? I'm honored to be here with you today and thankful that we're back together in person. It's been a rough year. We're going to talk about some of that. I thank the Chamber for hosting the event, for inviting me. I'd like to ask the department heads, I know we have some here, Keith's over here and some here. If you just stand for a moment. These are the folks in the city that make things happen day in and day out. And I'm blessed with a great team, and nothing that I do or control has as much impact as the department heads on a day-to-day basis. My family is here. My mother, Nancy, my aunt and uncle from California, Elaine and Carl Cobbs, my son Jonathan, who I'm proud to say works at Sandwich Salads, and my wife Christine, of course. This is the first time my father is not here. We lost my father this March, and he would always be there with his big smile, and he was my biggest supporter. Didn't want me to run for mayor. Thought I should stay in a civil service protected position as a police chief. But by God, he was my biggest supporter when I did decide to run and when I've continued to run. And we miss him. We also have a number of other elected officials, both from the city, county, and state, and I'd like to introduce them. And if you just do me a favor, just to conserve time, as I announce you, if you just stand, and at the very end, we'll thank them all together. So from the City of Medina, our council persons are Bill Lamb, Paul Rose, and Jess Hazeltine. And then from Keith Durham, from our finance department, all three of our county commissioners are here, Bill Hudson, Colleen Swedick, and Steve Hambley. And the city really works very well with the county. We're finding more and more ways to collaborate together. You'll hear some of that in the presentation. Our county prosecutor, Forrest Thompson, is here. Thanks, sir. And Mike Kovac, our county auditor, and Linda Hoffman, our county recorder. And from our Board of Education for Medina City Schools is Rebecca Parkhurst, off to the right here. And last but not least, State Representative Sharon Ray. I appreciate you all being here. So I'd also like to thank Miles and Jared for putting the presentation you're about to see together. They have the technical knowledge. We provide them with just the data. They put together the screens, the background video, and each year they continue to impress me with their technological expertise. This is my 12th State of the City presentation to you all as I complete now my third term as mayor. And I'm happy to report to you that I filed to run for mayor for one more term, and I'm uncontested in this November race. And you all can thank my wife, Chris, for that, because that was not an easy conversation to do 4 more years after I committed to doing 2, maybe 3. And now to 4. But I just want to thank all of you for your past and present support, and I'm blessed to lead this city. Go to the next slide, please. Sorry, the computer is so far away the little remote won't work that way, so they're going to help me out here. So the Community Development Department, I'm not going to read each slide for you. I'm relatively certain all of you can read pretty well. To see the data on each of the slides, I will just highlight a little bit on each one just so that we can keep moving. So it was important to me with the Community Development Department to put together building, economic development, and planning and zoning. Because what I wanted from a contractor standpoint, from a business person standpoint, is a one-stop shop, and that's worked out very well for us. And then while we did that, the other side benefit of that is now you can cross-train all the staff in there. So maybe your administrative assistant in building is gone, or the administrative assistant in planning is gone. If we know each other's jobs, we can then support that and keep the offices running. So that's worked out very well for us. It's been more convenient for residents and contractors. Next slide, please. So this is the official groundbreaking for the Chick-fil-A, which is going where the Eaton Park is at the corner of Reagan Parkway and North Court Street. Mr. Shields is not here, but Mr. Shields has been begging for a Chick-fil-A for 20 years. And we finally got so tired of listening to Jim Shields that we begged Chick-fil-A to come and take that over. But in seriousness, that the owner that just stood there with the 2 chiefs, Kimberly and I, he wanted to have a very small groundbreaking, did not want us to call the media or any other elected officials. But his name is Tony Morgano, and he lives here in Medina County. He had a Chick-fil-A in Paynesville, had to get rid of that one because they won't let you have 2, and wanted to do that to be in the county where he grew up and works. He was scheduled to open March of 2022, and we had a meeting with him talking about, I was very concerned about the entrance because if you've ever been to a Chick-fil-A, the traffic tends to back up. So I told them the only way we're going to make this work is make it right turn in only from the back side, so it's not backing up on Reagan Parkway, which they were agreeable to. But then after we approved the plans, they said, well, we'd like to get together and talk about the entrance and exit. And I said, well, we can talk about the exit, But we're not talking about the entrance, because the entrance has to remain one way in from the south. And it turns out that's not what they wanted. What they wanted was 2 lanes going out to get the people through there faster, which was no problem for us. So we widen that apron, and we have one lane that you can go straight through to the Target and use the other exits, and one where you can go right. We just didn't want to back it up. But I asked him, I said, you're talking now about December 2021. I thought it was March of 2022. And this was his comment to me from corporate Chick-fil-A. No one does things like Medina. They went to their planning and zoning and got all their approvals in one night instead of one meeting a month for 3 months. So that shaved 90 days off. When they had little issues that came up, we sat down with them and resolved them in a meeting. And they went back and were able to modify the plan, send them back to engineering, and get it taken care of. No one does things like Medina. Next slide, please. So to our building department, we're excited. In 2020, we had 33 new homes built. Many of these are townhouses down on the south side of town, off of High Point. But that 33 new homes, because we're pretty built out in the city, that 33 new homes is more than we've built in the last 4 years combined. The building department is now able to review and approve commercial plans in-house due to Dan's new certifications. Dan, I'd like to thank you. He spent about 2 years, if not a little bit longer, getting necessary certifications and classes from the state of Ohio to keep that in-house. And anytime things are in-house, you can control it a lot better than when you have to send plans out, and now you're on their timeline and their time schedule. So it saves plan review costs and further expedites the turnaround of commercial construction approvals. Same-day permits, next-day permits, and I can tell you, I'm out at City Hall, those of you that visit there at all, you'll see me out in the rotunda just walking around from department to department. And there's probably not a week that goes by that some contractor isn't waving his permit in front of me saying 6 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes. I filled out your application, I went to the finance window, I paid my fees, and I'm leaving with my permits, versus other cities I'm dealing with as a contractor that I'm 3 weeks in, 4 weeks in, 5 weeks in, and I'm still waiting for that permit. That's what we were striving to do, and Dan accomplished that for us. Thank you. Jared. Our economic development department, this is during COVID. 2020, during the year of COVID, we had over $33 million in business investment. Because of the COVID, we worked with Medina County to review and award 88 city businesses with CARES Act grants to help support them. The other thing we did, as soon as they closed the restaurants, Councilman Lamb and Councilman Hazeltine were both present for it. But the chamber asked, can we get together in the multipurpose room of the basement and come up with a way of City Hall, the basement of City Hall, come up with a way to help these businesses instead of just closing their doors and not knowing when they're going to open back up. In about a 30-minute meeting, we approved a sign with the city logo on it for them to place out front of each of their restaurants for either curbside delivery, customer pickup, or both, that they can reserve spaces right in front of their business to make that happen. And there is no doubt in my mind that many of the restaurants that survived through the COVID, and all of ours did so because of the support of the city and working together with the chamber and Main Street Medina, those up on the square. So in 2017, Carlisle Brake and Friction decided to close their Oklahoma plant and bring that whole operation to the city of Medina. So it's a massive build out of the current Medina plant. And we worked with them, everything went well. Well, 3 years later, 2020, again in the middle of COVID, the president came and met with Bethany from County Economic Development and Kimberly and I, and said, we want to bring our corporate offices from Solon, Ohio to Medina. And I asked Ted Messmer, is there a problem with Solon? because I don't want to repeat the problem if you come down here, right? I'm gonna learn from their mistakes, right? He said, no, there's no problem at all with Solon. We like how Medina does business. We were so impressed with the way that plant build went. We're bringing our corporate offices to Medina, and anything else we can put in Medina, we'll put in Medina. I don't want to just mention Carlisle Brake and Friction. I mentioned John. John works at Sandridge. Drug Mart has been here for a very long time, their corporate headquarters. Root Candles, I know Brad is here, I think 5th generation, maybe beyond that, because they keep coming. I don't get any older, but they keep coming. Fire Decks did a doubling the size of their business. They're now on the 2nd generation. Sealy has been in town, 620 Corporation, Simmons Brothers. Standard Welding's another one, 4 or 5 generations now. They've been operating at that location. And we appreciate all of those businesses. And what that does for us, especially for our residents, is we have one of the lowest tax rates in the state. And the more industry we can build, the more employment we can offer, and the more commercial establishments we can have, that shifts that burden from the residents to everybody paying a small amount, but yet the city getting enough to operate effectively and efficiently. And you're seeing the result of that day in and day out. Sure. Planning and Zoning Department, they handle like sign permits, fence permits, somebody's putting a pool in the backyard, all of those things. Again, and through Dan's department, we issue those either the same day or the next day. It just depends if we have to go out and take a look at the property and make sure that it's within the parameters of where it's permitted to be. But the other thing I'm pretty proud about is the city of Brunswick and the city of Medina collaborated together, and I know the county commissioners do the same thing with Wadsworth. And if we do it individually, you get $300 each or a $600,000 grant. But if you do it collaboratively, so us in Brunswick, the county, and Wadsworth, we each entity gets an extra $50,000. So, and from the state's perspective, you're only paying one administration, one oversight, all of that. So that money is being saved, but from our perspective, that's $50,000 more dollars in each community, each of the 3 cities and the county as a result of collaboration. And as you know, Medina City is very big on collaboration, and we appreciate the rest of the entities in Medina County doing the same thing. Sure. From our engineering department, our projects totaled in 2020 over $6.5 million. Now, some of those were grant dollars, some of those are city dollars. Anytime we do a project, we try to see if there's grant dollars first. If there's not grant dollars first, sometimes we know the project has to go anyway. So we start planning, designing, organizing the project, and then if the grant dollars come along, we can couple them with the city dollars. And the more city dollars we can save, the more projects we can do because it's not all local money. The design and planning work for 2021 and 2022, those projects are going to total over $10 million. Another significant improvement in the city was in 2020, during the COVID, we completed the parking deck project outside of Medina City Hall there on the south side of City Hall. So that was $1 million capital grant we got from the state of Ohio, coupled with $2.8 million from the city, and we created a TIF district surrounding the deck there. Some of it's developed already, some of it's to be developed, and some of it is still in the talking phase. But any development that would benefit from that deck, a portion of that property tax comes back to the city until we're reimbursed that $2.8 million. Which then frees up those dollars to use for other investment in the city. Sure. Our fire department has 6 fire stations. They serve the city of Medina, Medina Township, and Montville Township. And if you add those 3 entities together, that's about the size of Strongsville, about 47,000 people. We had staffing for many years now, Monday through Friday during the day shift, and we've been looking and talking and studying the budget to try to come up with staffing in addition to that. And then the first question is, does it make more sense to have the overnight staff? Does it make more sense to have the weekend staff? If it's the weekend staff, is it day staff? Is it afternoon staff? When are we getting the most calls when we don't have people on duty? And the chief did a great, Chief Walters. All I gotta do is look at my note. Chief Walters did a great job in analyzing that data for us and coming up that during the day, Monday, Saturday and Sunday during the day was the highest call volume if we're gonna add another shift. So we did that. September of this year we did that, and that's working out very well for us. And we did it within the existing budget. We didn't have to have council give us any more money. We didn't have to have the townships kick in a little bit more. And as long as we can keep expanding the services within the existing budget, I'm telling you that's what we'll do. There may come a time, especially if we're going to try to go 24/7, when each of the three entities is going to have to pay a little bit more, because as you all know from your own businesses, we can only stretch dollars so far. But there's no doubt in my mind that's going to greatly assist with our response times. Jared? The law department, Mr. Huber's our law director, has been there for the past 3 mayors. The law department handles misdemeanor cases in the Medina Municipal Court. For those of you not familiar, if you've not been in the court lately, the Medina Municipal Court handles the northern 2/3 of Medina County. The southern 2/3 goes to Wadsworth Muni, and the rest goes to Medina Muni. The law department is also the legal advisor and have to review all the contracts in the city before I sign them. And they do a great job, and they're all part-time people. The law director's part-time, and 3 prosecutors are part-time. Now Brunswick, because Brunswick's in the northern 2/3 of Medina County, if you're wondering, Brunswick has their own mayor's court where they handle a number of their traffic issues, which lessens the burden then on the Medina Municipal Court. The case is being brought down here, and if there is a case where somebody has a risk of jail time, or it's a case that could be heard by a judge in the municipal court, the defendant can elect that, and if they do, then Brunswick sends their prosecutor down, and they have a day in Medina Muni Court to handle those. So the city is not responsible for Brunswick at all. Sure. So our rec center was totally shut down as a result of the COVID from March 17th to June 1st. We laid off all the part-time staff. We kept the full-time staff that we had at least, to sanitize, to clean, to do some upgrades to the facility. We reopened once we were permitted to, which is the June 1st. But what we had to do is take all the equipment and spatially distance it in like the field houses and that. So now they were 6 to 8 feet apart of each treadmill, each bicycle, which then meant those fields or courts couldn't be used for the things they normally are, like basketball, like volleyball, like pickleball, things like that. So it kind of compressed what we could offer, but still trying to benefit as many of the patrons as we could. The recovery there has been slow, and some of the public is still cautious of returning, and we respect that. We're trying to do our best to make it inviting to them, but we know everybody's got to come at their own pace. The other thing we did from an economic standpoint was our rec center director, who had been there my entire time as mayor, resigned in November of 2020, and I thought it would be a good idea, rather than filling that position right away. Jared didn't think it was a good idea, or I'm sorry, Jansen didn't think it was a good idea, but Jansen oversees cemetery, parks, and forestry, and I said, it was kind of like one of the conversations with Chris when I had these great ideas. I said, hey Jansen, what do you think about this? You could take over the rec center interimly, as well as the other 3 things you're doing. But I'll tell you what, having a fresh set of eyes and looking at things critically and from an outside perspective, what it really changed for us was how can we take the parks and the rec and blend them together and complement one another. So a lot of our rec programs during these nice weather days like this, we can take them out to the parks. And then in the wintertime, some of our parks events that you can't do because it's so cold or there's 3 feet of snow or whatever, you can move them inside. So you have constantly maintaining. The other thing it does is it exposes the rec center to that many more people if they're coming in from the parks but they've never been in the rec center, which helps drive up our membership. And we're getting very close to 70% of the revenue, and we're going to bring back one more full-time employee, not a director yet, Jansen, sorry. But we're going to bring back another full-time employee to kind of keep pushing that to get back closer to norm. Jared. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about Medina TV. As I told you, they put together this this video for you, as well as the slides. Very excellent technical wise. When we redid with the COVID money, CARES Act money, when we redid City Hall to raise the pit to floor level, we put TVs in the front, TVs in the back, improved the microphones, improved the sound system, new speakers, everything, and they did all the legwork on that. The other thing they did for the city schools, as well as the city of Medina, is all the COVID notices. You know, it was changing literally, sometimes daily, if not hourly. You know, the governor would have a press conference, and now this has changed or that's changed. Well, they did a great deal for us in the schools of getting that information out to the public on bulletin boards, on cable channels, on websites, and they were instrumental in getting that out. I mentioned before about partnerships with the county commissioners. I was approached by Scott Miller, the county administrator, and he said, you know, the way you guys do your city council meetings, how you broadcast them, the sound quality, all of that, we'd like to see if we could do something like that over here. So we sent Jared and his team over there to analyze what they had, what could they do to improve it, and during those discussions, the county offered, if you all would be willing to take this over, come over and tape our meetings, put together whatever they needed to make this work and push it out to the public, they would then reimburse the city for the times that they were over there. So it's saving the city a little bit of money. Of course, we have to make sure that the staff has the time. It's saving the city a little bit of money and providing a benefit to the county that they don't have to have their own group together to do. Again, collaboration. When I think about tax dollars, I don't want to get off on a rant here, but when I think about tax dollars, you know, our residents pay tax dollars to the schools, to the city, and to the county, and all of the county levies that are on the ballot. So anytime we can conserve tax dollars by working collaboratively with the schools, by working collaboratively with the commissioners, that's everybody's tax dollars being saved. It doesn't matter that it's in the county's pot or in the school's pot, it's all of our tax dollars and we benefit from that. Last but not least, the cable TV, or Medina TV office, we used to call them cable TV, they created a virtual seniors awards ceremony and commencement, because in 2020 there was going to be no commencement. We couldn't bring the families together because of the COVID restrictions. So they put together bringing small groups, socially distanced, let them go through the commencement ceremony, socially distanced, took them outside, took pictures of each of them, their families, and put together a great program. And I know the schools were very appreciative of that, and it just makes us proud of finding other ways to do things within the restrictions we're dealt. Sir. Our Parks Department, we have a very large park system. You know, some of them are sports field related, some are just undeveloped, but we have 182 acres, 11 pavilions, 11 soccer fields, 14 baseball fields, a football field, 2 disc golf courses, 16 miles of mountain bike trails, and 5 miles of paved multipurpose and nature trails. And we're looking at extending any of those that we can. Speaking of extensions, we got 2 grants. One to take the East Reagan Parkway trail that ended at Larkin's Way and extended up to Court Street. We put a multi-purpose trail on Court Street, so why not tie those neighborhoods, or people that are riding their bikes in Reagan Park can actually come all the way up to Court Street, stay on that path, get a milkshake, they probably don't eat fries and burgers, but you know what I mean. They'll find something up there healthy, right? So we got one grant for the trail itself, which is completed, and right now, next week, we're putting in the lighting. And by the way, some of the lighting in the old trail, it didn't go from Larkin's Way down just a little bit east of Ashwood. So included in the lighting upgrade is going to be to light the old trail so that the entire path now is lit. Another thing I'm very proud of, and again, a lot of the credit goes to Jansen, but we're working with the county parks director and looking at ways to link the county parks with the city parks. So think about this now, that area I just talked about, you can literally go from North Court Street, down Reagan Parkway, around Lake Medina. The parks has permission to cut the county trail through the Suma property, which gets you over to East Smith Road, which connects you to the Roscoe Ewing Trail, to South Court Street where we added bike lanes, to the Chippewa Lake Trail. It's one of the longest interconnecting trails in the state of Ohio. By getting together, talking, collaborating, and using limited dollars to the best of the ability. And good work on that, Jansen. Jared. Our forestry department, we have over 13,500 city street trees, so we have to prune them in a rotating cycle. And the city has been designated a Tree City USA for the last 38 years, and we're very proud of that. Sometimes residents will call and say, hey, that the trees are getting a little bit low, and can they come trim them? Well, because of the volume of trees and our limited staff, we have it on about a 4-year cycle to get them trimmed. But I can tell you there have been a couple of instances where people have called me and said, I can't drive my motorhome in either of the lanes. I got to kind of straddle the street because it's scratching the top of it. So the next day, I was getting my permit or my petitions to run for mayor, and somebody mentioned that to me, and the next day they were out there trimming those trees for him. And the guy was like, I thought maybe next year or 2 years instead of 4 years, right? No, we try to get things done, and we're proud of our staff day in and day out. Jared? Our cemeteries look like parks. We do that intentionally. So people will walk through there just like they do our parks. We have 35 acres between the two cemeteries. In those two cemeteries, we have 6,500 monuments and over 10,000 interments. And the cemetery division works very collaboratively with Friends of the Cemetery. And the Friends of the Cemetery, I just a shout out to them. The Friends of the Cemetery has donated over $1.5 million for different projects at the Spring Grove Cemetery, and we're very thankful and appreciative of all of their support. And the other thing that they did recently is, let me share this with you. The Spring Grove Cemetery was established in 1883. It was registered earlier on the National Register of Historic Places, and then the Friends of the Cemetery filed all the paperwork and the inspections necessary, and it was recently named the first and only arboretum in Medina County, and we're very proud of that. Jared? Police Department, as you can imagine, COVID was quite a change for the Medina Police Department. My whole life at the Medina Police Department was community policing, talking to people, interacting with people, getting close to people. And COVID separated the officers from the people, at least socially distanced. So that's not the type of policing we were used to, but we had to deal with what the facts were. And we had to keep our staff safe, and we had to keep the people we're interacting with safe. So, we had to balance that. So to say 2020 was a challenging year would be an understatement. Not only the COVID, we started with COVID, now I'm talking from a police perspective. We started with COVID, then on April 7th, 2020, we had a tornado come through and cause massive destruction through our city. We had power lines down, we had trees blocking roadways, we had houses collapsed on top of the residents that we had to pull out of there. The police, the fire, forestry, cemetery, everybody in our service department came out and started working, and we worked about 3 or 4 days straight. Because the first thing is you have to get Ohio Edison to get the live lines off the trees. Then our staff can start clearing the trees. You can't do it when it's got the live lines. So it's working in conjunction with those and getting it all cleaned up and telling people if you just get it out to the curb, we'll get it hauled away. Doesn't matter if it's properly bundled or in 3 feet size, just get it out there and we'll take care of it for you. And we did. Then the third thing, like that, those two weren't enough, right? The third thing was there was a killing in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where the police knelt on George Floyd's neck and suffocated him. That resulted in 6 protests here in Medina. Pastor Ruffin talked to the chief and I about hosting a protest here in Medina that what happened was not right. And he wanted to walk around the square arm in arm with me after they had a small service. And I told him I thought that should be the police chief, because I wanted to see the unity of a black pastor and the police chief walking arm in arm, because that's what we are in Medina. So the chief and Pastor Ruffin led the march, and then I was next in line with a black pastor from my church. And we paraded around the square. And people joined us parading around the square. People that weren't even there for the protest, because they knew this was right. After that, Pastor Ruffin thought we should have some cable shows to talk about these issues. Let's get it out. Let's take questions from the public. So Chief Kinney and I and the pastor had probably 3 or 4 different shows. Forrest Thompson and Greg Huber did another show on what happens when charges are filed, or what do you look at when you decide to file charges, the discretion, prosecutorial discretion, and why that's necessary, and why it's important not to rush and charge, in particular overcharge, and then you can't make the case and the person walks away scot-free because you can't try them twice. So getting all that information out so people have a little bit better understanding of how these systems all work together and how they all try to work to attain justice. Well, I can tell you as a result of the efforts of Pastor Ruffin and the pastors, I know there's some other Pastor Luke I see in the back, Pastor Tal, all these churches now have come together to support. And we have monthly or bi-monthly meetings. We're going to have a revival the 28th, 29th, and 30th of September at Cornerstone Church. Three nights in a row, 3 different pastors, 3 different messages on unity. Because if there's not unity with the churches, how can we unify as a community, right? That's the thought. But let me go back to these videos that we did. So probably 5 years ago, we thought it important to have cultural diversity training for the city staff, all of our city staff, and the school staff. The Board of Education thought the same thing. So we brought up a group from Columbus called Performance Consulting Services. And as a result of what Pastor Ruffin and the pastors and the administration has been working on, Governor DeWine's office is looking at all of our policies and procedures, our use of force, everything that we do up here, because they're trying to model a best practice for the state of Ohio, and they like what we're doing. But as importantly, maybe more, the performance consulting group that came up to teach us cultural diversity is using our videos to teach other people that they're providing services to. And Medina is being looked at. We've had phone calls. The pastor's got phone calls. I've had phone calls from Akron, from Columbus, from Las Vegas. People are seeing what we're doing here in Medina to unify, to come together. And God bless you, Pastor, for your work in that regard. Our service department, as a result, I told you about the tornado. As a result of the extensive tornado damage in April of 2020, they ended up with 600 cubic feet of storm debris that was taken out to Smith Brothers for composting. And they handle the trash day in and day out. We're not like some other cities, you know, where you can have one trash can or two, or you know, maybe a can in a bag. Whatever you put out there, we pick up. And the former county commissioner, Adam Friedrich, used to tease me that literally I think I could put anything out there and they would take it. It wouldn't matter if it was on my tree lawn, the neighbor's tree lawn, whatever. He said they just keep moving the truck, keep throwing it in. But we're proud of the service. The street department does pavement markings, street sweeping, street repairs, traffic signal maintenance, sign maintenance, storm sewer maintenance, leaf collection, and snow and ice removal. Again, Medina's a little bit different when it comes to snow and ice, and those of you that have businesses or industry probably appreciate that. But, you know, we have a very limited staff in our street department. So if we had to count on that street department to keep the streets cleaned for a 3 or 4 day event, that would not be possible because you can't work 24 hours a day, right? And with CDLs, you got a limit on the number of hours those folks can work. So what Nino has put together from our service department is we have a list of every CDL driver in the city. It doesn't matter if they're in the parks department. It doesn't matter if they're in the fire department. It doesn't matter if they're an one of the vehicle mechanics. If they have a CDL, they're offered a shift to come in on overtime, and we run our snow and ice clearing 24/7 until the event is done. And then we let the people get a little bit of rest because we don't know when the next one's coming, right? But it's worked out very well for us. Our vehicle maintenance department, we have 80 licensed vehicles. And I'm proud to say with the proper preventative maintenance they do, it's really helped with the longevity of the vehicles. We also certified one of our mechanics to work on emergency apparatus, like fire trucks. So we are responsible for the maintenance and the upkeep of the city's fire trucks, Montville's fire trucks, and Medina Township's fire trucks. So you can imagine that keeps them pretty busy. And we just can't have one of the other mechanics work on it. They have to be certified by the state of Ohio precisely for that. Okay. Water department, I love that slide. I do. Our water department, they install water meters. They annually flush the hydrants. They do utility locates if somebody's going to dig and make sure that the water lines aren't going to be there. Water main break repairs and water quality testing. In 2020, we had 2 new records. This was the first year since 2012, 2020 was, that we saw an increase in the water volume used since 2012. And the other record was, it was the fewest water main breaks that we've seen in quite some time. Jared? State of the city. So this is not, I wasn't quite sure what happened here, and then I delved into it a little bit here the last 2 days. So this is showing you the general fund budget. And you can see each of the years, other than this year, our expenses, which is the green, is less than the, I call it orange, the one on the left. And that shows that what was budgeted was not spent. Now it looks like we're in trouble in 2021, right? because the green is higher than the orange. So Keith and I chatted a little bit about that this morning. First of all, it's a very conservative estimate, as finance people do, right, Dave? Very conservative, because if you look at the numbers, you know, it's 7.8, 7.8, 7.8, and 2021 it's 7.4. Where'd the money go, right? But the other thing is we never spend all of the budgeted money, because you end up, you know, a person leaves. It takes us 3 months to get the position filled. Well, that money for the salary and the benefits and everything else is still there. So that's why they always work themselves out. I don't want you to be too nervous about that. And we watch it very closely. Okay, Jerry. So this is a pretty interesting slide, I think at least. I hope you do too. So this is a fire at Liberty Plaza. And as you're looking at the screen, the right section is the office and maintenance area. The left section, where it's a higher roof, is a community room. And what happened was when those fire trucks rolled up there, we already had LST members and fire members there. So when the firemen are getting off the truck and putting on their fireproof pants and coats and helmets and whatnot, the police officers and the medics hooked up the hoses to the two nearest hydrants. So when the firemen got dressed, they could activate the water onto the fire. Now the second thing, it'll flip back here in a second, you can see they're fighting the fire on the right side of your screen. So the police department used its drone on infrared to determine that the hottest area, unbeknownst to us at this point yet, was the peak of that community room. See that red line going across there? That whole building would have burnt down had the fire chief and them not been shown that infrared video, to then readjust where we're putting that water and get that hot spot out before it destroyed the rest of the building. And they were able to save the building by doing that. But again, that's a collaboration of police, fire, and EMS all working together and getting the job done. And I'm proud of how our safety forces do that. This is the courthouse project for the county commissioners. They're building a building to move all of or the majority of their offices out of the 1841 and the 1969 building for the same reasons the city has been looking at for 2 decades of trying to find a place for the municipal court. And they need separate hallways for in-custody prisoners, public, and staff. And they need a sally port, a safe place to get the prisoners into the courtrooms, out of the courtrooms. So they're building a brand new facility there behind the existing courthouses. The city, while they're building this is a 24, 30-month project. The city is talking with an engineer about what it would take to change or modify the 1969 building, which is the one with the white pillars, for us to move the municipal court over there. It's about twice the size we're in now, and if we can do it within financial means and repurpose it for the municipal court operations, then the sally port that's being built, the secured prisoner transport, the secured entryway could all be shared with the county. And again, when we're talking about saving taxpayer dollars, it makes sense to have one location versus 2 a block and a half away from each other. So we're going to continue to work on that. And again, it's another collaborative effort with the political entities to save taxpayer dollars. Above and beyond, just a couple examples. So we had a number of our restaurants that were having trouble getting a liquor permit. And I know Representative Sharon Ray's here, and she was very instrumental. Because, by the way, again, I don't want to go off on a rant here, but sometimes I do. The people in the state are working from home today, still. And the people in the federal government are working from home today, still. Here we all are, right? We found our way back. But that's going on. So what we ran into was we had a number of restaurants applied for a liquor permit, nothing's being done with them. Working from home, but nobody's doing the work. So Sharon Ray and Senator Romanchuk got us in touch with the legislative liaison for the legislators with the Ohio Liquor Commission to get a hold of these people at home and say, you know, what's going on here? Well, and we got them both worked out, but come to work. or work, right? So that's number one. Senior snowplow program. And Jansen and Nino are both here. We plow for our senior citizens that are of certain age, infirmity, and their finances have to be a certain level. If they can afford to pay somebody to do it, then we don't think the city should be providing. So we have probably 60, 70, 80 of these folks we take care of. Well, the one lady lives by herself, and we got a pretty decent snow this year, so she had like 30 inches of snow against her back door. And a little dog that can't get through, 30 inches of snow, right? So she calls us and she says, look, I know the snowplow program doesn't take care of this, but I don't know what to do. I can't shovel the snow. I can't get out there myself. That dog can't get out. The result of that is not going to be good. Could you please help? So one time Nino went over with a shovel and he cleared that so the dog could get into the backyard, and the second time Jansen went over. And again, above and beyond, those things don't generally happen with city services. And then last but not least, we had a resident, we found out, had about 30 inches of sewage in a basement in Ward 2, not too far from Claggett Middle School. She had limited resources, but because she also possessed her mother's home, which was in need of repair in Cuyahoga County, she didn't qualify for any of the CHIP programs or any of those things. So what we did was actually work with some of our local vendors to give her as a reduced price as she can. We used some city staff to help her work with the insurance company, her insurance company, to make sure she's getting all the paperwork and everything filled out. And as a result, we were able to help resolve that issue for her that otherwise would probably still be there today. So don't leave. I've got one more surprise. In closing, let me say this. We may have lost friends, neighbors, and family members during this pandemic, but we remain hopeful. Medina is a vibrant city that has bounced back several times in our history and continues to show its resilience. It's my honor and privilege to serve as your mayor, whatever we have to face, because I know we can get through anything together, and together we can make Medina proud. Okay. So these two, the one on the right is Princess Madison. She's 5 now. She just entered kindergarten, so she knows more than any of us, and she'll tell you that. Little story with her. So the one day I'm out, because I won't tell you why. You'll figure it out. So I've got this weed killer. I pay a lawn service to kill my weeds, but I'm out with this 2-gallon sprayer of weed killer going around the yard. Well, the 2-gallon I had before, you know, it would do a wide spray and then it'd be off, and then you spin it again and it does a narrow spray. So this one, you know, I get done with my job. She's watching me the whole time. Well, I turn it a quarter turn, still spraying. Turn it a quarter turn, it's still spraying. She watches me for a few minutes doing that, and she says, Grandpa, what are you, because I'm not spraying anything. Grandpa, what are you doing? I said, I'm trying to get it to turn off. She goes, try not squeezing the handle. The little terror there on the left is Aiden. And you can tell by Madison's arm around him in a near chokehold, he doesn't sit still very long. So they were lucky enough to get that picture, but we're blessed to have them both in town here. Chris watches them a day or two a week, and I see them as often as we can, and we're thankful for both of them. And I want to thank you all. I'm thankful for you, and God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you, Mayor Hanwell. He came with his jokes today, so that was impressive. I like that. Thanks everybody for coming out. We got a couple more of these meetings on the agenda for this year, so watch your email for those. A couple quick reminders on your table. Again, another plug for the Empower event, October 21st. So grab that, take a look at it. The other thing is Restaurant Week. I know that's a Main Street program, but I'm going to give it a shout out here anyway. Our restaurants were some of the hardest hit this year, so here in a couple weeks we've got Restaurant Week, so get out there and support our local businesses. Thanks everybody.